Good afternoon. It's about 12:39 on a Tuesday. Hope everybody had a good Memorial or Labor Day weekend for what it's worth. So, yeah, I am back at it again doing another show here for Jason Dean at Film Fanatic. If you get a chance, please like and subscribe to the page if you like any of these talky videos I do. It's all about the films I love, and I'm always gonna try to keep cranking out the videos. And I have some new things that are gonna be coming out, and also a couple of new little projects. So yeah, I'm learning as I go here. This is a lot of fun. I appreciate some friends and family and people that have given me some good, feedback for these videos. I just started the YouTube channel. Well, I've had it for a while, but I just started being pretty active with it the last month or few weeks. So, like everybody knows, this has been a horror movie odyssey. I've been doing all of the Friday the 13th movies. So it's been a blast. It's been a total blast. So we we're getting there here. We're getting there. And this is the ninth. Yeah, this is the ninth movie I've covered. This one is called Jason Goes to Hell: The Final Friday. It's this bad boy right here. So this is the third movie that features Kane Hodder as Jason Voorhees. He set a record for playing Jason more than any other actor. Usually, it's been a thing for the entire franchises where they hire a different actor to play Jason Voorhees, and they usually have a very no, they always have a different cast. Sometimes there's been a few holdovers, but generally it's always a new cast. It's a generally a lot of the times, for the most part, a new director. And so, but Kane Hodder was the first one to ever, basically play Jason four times consecutively. He's also been pretty out and very outspoken about, kind of the things that he did to try to, continue his role. He was very, he always ran like a pretty aggressive campaign for him to keep playing this iconic role. And like I've said before, my favorite Jason is Ted White. Ted White is the man. He only played Jason once, and that's in the chapter four, the final chapter. And he's just amazing. I just feel like he's the most iconic Jason that there was. I do like Kane Hodder. The one thing I feel like, without sounding like I'm knocking him, because I'm not, but I guess just being a little critical, because I'm a huge a lover of this franchise. Kane Hodder is definitely the most well known for the movie, and he's like the most popular character actor who's played Jason, obviously. But I feel like when he took on the role, it kind of transitioned. Like, I like these movies quite a bit, but in his character itself, I feel like he took it in this weird thing of where Jason Voorhees kind of felt like more as a, where at first he was like this iconic, monster. He was like, I feel like he's evolved, and you know, he's he's like a classic modern day monster, like Frankenstein or Dracula, like kind of similar to the classic Universal monsters. The Wolfman, Dracula, creature from the the Black Lagoon, the Mummy, those iconic, the Invisible Man, those iconic characters, and I feel like Jason Voorhees is part of that, as along with like Freddy Krueger and Leatherface, like those are the more modern uh, extensions of that canon. I feel like more contemporary, but all like in that framework of like the iconic monsters throughout cinematic history. And I feel like what Kane Hodder did for or with the character of Jason is he kind of, I mean, he still has that vibe or that essence, but I feel like he moved it more into where he's now like more of a, he feels like more of a, like a professional wrestler. and it's just funny. It's just odd. Like it's hard to take it a little bit. I mean, you can't take the movie seriously, but it's hard to take his character as serious, and it's a little bit. I don't know. It just feels like he's like a guy who's wrestling with a wrestling mask in a ring, and he's like hitting people with chairs, and there's like fake blood, and I don't know. It's an odd thing I've always felt with Kane Hodder. But this movie, I watched this last night, and again, this is part nine. There are two more. There's actually one more movie in the series for the series to actually be legitimately over. But there are two additional movies that I'll be covering that are kind of spin offs or reboots. But this was part nine, and this one is super cheesy and super ridiculous, but I loved it. I It's so over the top. Basically, the premise of this story is that Jason Voorhees is like blown up and he's destroyed. His body is dismembered, and he's now like this. He basically is like this disembodied spirit, and he can possess people at will and he can assume their body or their physical roles or their physical attributes and go out and continue, killing and slaughtering people. So he possesses. At one point, he like takes over the body of a doctor and a police officer, a security guard, a woman, an older man, and he goes on these rampages, and it's pretty out there. It's totally bizarre. And then one thing that's really funny is it reminds me of it kind of reminds me more of like a weird zombie knockoff exploitation movie, because the characters like they take on that kind of those characteristics of like zombies when they go out and they commit these acts, and it's pretty bonkers and it's super silly, but it's great. It's super over the top. The other thing too is I feel like this movie is a little bit more dated, and the because this was at the cusp of when like computers first came into play for a lot of these films, so they started using computers and like computer generated scenes and characters, but mostly computer generated effects and scenes where it was right at the cusp of the technology was really bad, so you can really tell that the computer graphics are kind of awful. So it gives it this really dated, cheesy quality to a point of where it's like kind of bad for where it's not really cool. But again, I still love it. But when it's funny when I think of this movie or watch this movie, it makes me think of the original ones, where there was no the existence of computers wasn't even a thing. So especially for Hollywood movies, those movies, the early movies, have I feel like a lot less of a dated quality, and everything is thanks to the brilliance of Tom Savini. Everything's in camera, and everything looks pretty real and not so artificial. The effects, that being said, some of the effects in this movie are actually really really great, but a lot of the computer graphics are kind of awful. But it's what I like is they took this premise of this totally bonkers story and kind of setting up this kind of new universe or this new storyline, and they went all the way. They didn't go half-assed. They just kind of dove into it all the way. So it's so like over the top and so ridiculous that because they went to that extreme and they didn't just hint at it or have parts of it, they went full on. It it works, and I feel like it's actually super fun and completely ridiculous and campy and a load of fun. It's a hoot. It's a total hoot. And then so the next movie I'll be doing after this will be technically the final installment of the Friday the 13th movies, and that's going to be Jason X, and that also stars Kane Hodder. The other thing that's really interesting too about this movie is the last movie that I did a review on, Jason Takes Manhattan, was the last one that was released by Paramount Pictures, which has released all of the films and the entire franchise for the most part. This one marked the first time that now these films were coming through New Line Cinema, and New Line Cinema is probably most well known for the Freddy the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. and the Lord of the Ring films. It's really funny how huge that company is. But they put out the Nightmare on Elm Street films back in the 80s, which I love. And there's a scene at the very ending of this film hints to that culmination of the idea of what would Jason, what would a fight between Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger be like? So it hints to that. So it leads to the next movie that was also released on New Line Cinema quite a few years later, Freddy vs. Jason, which is, it might be my favorite movie out of all of the movies, besides part one and definitely the final chapter. It's amazing. It's like the ultimate kind of love letter to those characters, and it's super gory and over the top. And that's going to be a show I'm going to do that I'm very much looking forward to. And that's also going to be part of the show of where I'm going to be doing like a live video where I'm going to have a party that where I'll have a little gathering of people and we're going to watch it as a group. And part of it, or maybe all of it, will be recorded for YouTube. So that's going to be one of the big events that I'll be focusing on. And then the very big event when that's all done is I will be very excited to announce that I have an actress who is actually in one of the movies for Friday the 13th. She was actually a leading actress in one of the movies, and she's going to be a guest on Film Fanatic, and I'm going to interview her all about the movie and the experience and what, you know, her life has been since she's been in these movies. So I'm really, really excited about that. And that's going to be probably not till after Halloween. So that's going to be a little ways away, but that's going to be a lot of fun. And that's going to be kind of the ultimate kind of end to all of this. So, yeah, this is Jason Dean. Check out this movie. It's totally bonkers. Jason Goes to Hell. And next up will be Jason X. Thank you for your support. And if you can like and subscribe to my page, that would be greatly appreciated. Peace. Thank you.